Hello everyone, so in this video we'll be picking up where we left off in The Fate of 10 by Pittacus Lore on chapter 6. A heavy weight falls across my legs, driving the shrapnel sticking out of my thigh even deeper. It's Fira Dunra. She has fresh lacerations on her face and arms, the results of her own improvised bomb. Her wrists and ankles are still bound by the ice manacles, but that hasn't stopped her from throwing herself on top of me. I'm still stunned from the blast, so I don't react as quickly as I should. Fira headbutts me in the sternum as she worms her way across my body. "Now you die, Lorik trash," she says maniacally, still giddy over the success of her booby trap. I'm not sure what her plan is here, maybe to bite me to death or smother me with her body, but I'm not so out of sorts that either of those things is going to happen. With a quick burst of telekinesis, I swipe Fira Dunra off me. She tumbles through the dirt, rolling across glowing bits of scorched duffel bag. She tries to get herself onto her feet, screaming in frustration as her bound hands as her bounds get in the way. She's silenced when I kick her across the face as hard as I can. Fira flops to the ground unconscious. Stay with me! Stay with me! It's Marina's voice that snaps me out of my rage, or I'd probably kill Fira right now. I spin around and see her bent over Adam. Is he? I limp across the clearing, forgetting that there's a 6-inch piece of jagged steel protruding from my thigh. I ignore the pain. Adam's in much worse shape than I am. I stagger around the small hill of earth Adam was able to construct in the few seconds before the explosion. It absorbed a lot of the shrapnel, but not enough. The bomb still basically detonated right in front of him, so Adam took the brunt of the blast. He's on his back now, Marina leaning over him, and I cringe at the amount of damage he's taken. His entire midsection is blown open, like he's been scooped out. He should have dived out of the way instead of standing there like a human shield. Stupid Mog trying to be a hero. Amazingly, Adam's still conscious. He can't speak. All the strength he can muster seems to be going into breathing. His eyes are wide and scared as he sucks in wet, rattling breaths. His hands, soaked with his blood, are curled into tight fists. I can do this. I can do this, Marina repeats to herself, not hesitating at all as she lays her hands on Adam's grisly wound. Looking over her shoulder, helpless, I realize how sadly familiar the situation must be for Marina. It's like 8 all over again. As Adam's breathing becomes more and more ragged, I watch as his insides begin to knit themselves back together under Marina's touch, and then something disturbing happens. There's a crackle and hiss, like a fire starting, and a piece of Adam's midsection briefly sparks before disintegrating into that familiar Mogadorian death ash. Marina cries out in surprise, pulling her hands away. "What the hell was that?" I ask, eyes wide. "I don't know," Marina yells. "Something's fighting me, Six. I'm afraid I'm hurting him." The second Marina's healing stops, Adam's still open wound begins bleeding again. He's getting pale, more pale than usual even. His hand scrabbles through the dirt and gropes for Marina. Don't stop." Adam manages to gurgle, and when he does, I can see that there's dark blood in his mouth. "Whatever happens, don't stop." Steeling herself, Marina again presses down on Adam's injury. She squeezes her eyes shut and concentrates, fresh sweat dripping down the sides of her dirt-smudged face. I've seen Marina heal a lot of injuries before, but this is definitely the most effort I've seen her expend. Adam's body slowly begins to regenerate until another section of his inside sparks and disintegrates, looking like the fuse of a bomb burning up inside him. When that's over, though, the rest of him heals normally. It takes a couple of minutes, but Marina finally gets Adam closed up. She falls backwards onto her butt, breathing like she's just finished sprinting, her hands shaking. Adam remains on his back, running his fingers over the skin of his abdomen that minutes ago wasn't there. Finally, he props himself up on an elbow and looks at Marina. "Thank you," he says, locking eyes with her, his face a mixture of amazement and gratitude. "Don't mention it," Marina replies, catching her breath. Marina, would you mind?" I gesture to the piece of metal still sticking out of my leg. Marina groans from the exertion but nods, maneuvering around so she's on her knees in front of me. "Do you want me to pull it out, or—" Before she can finish, I yank the jagged piece of shrapnel out of my thigh. A fresh spurt of blood trickles down my leg. The pain is bad, but Marina quickly numbs it with a blast of cold before using her healing legacy to close me up. Compared to putting Adam back together, it takes no time at all. When she's finished with me, Marina immediately looks back at Adam. "What was that when I was healing you? Why was it so hard?" I don't know exactly," Adam replies, staring into the distance. You started to disintegrate a little. You started to disintegrate a little, like you were dying." "I was dying," Adam says. But that shouldn't happen to me. The Vat-born warriors you face turn to ash because they're made entirely from Setrekis Ra's genetic experimentation. Some trueborn, like me, receive modifications that would cause them to disintegrate when they die. I haven't received anything like that, though. At least, not that you know of. I finished the thought for him. Yeah, Adam replies, looking down at himself like he suddenly doesn't trust his own body. I was in a coma for years. It's possible my father might have done something to me. I don't know what, though. Whatever it was, I think my healing burned it out of you, Marina says. I hope so, Adam replies. All three of us fall silent. With the medical emergencies averted, it becomes clear just how badly we've screwed up. I walk over to the scorched patch of dirt where Pira Dunra's explosive went off, kicking around tattered bits of duffel bag and misshapen hunks of metal. The bag was probably filled with conduits, but I don't find anything even slightly salvageable. We are now totally stranded here. When I turn around, I find that Adam has picked himself up and is now standing over Pira's unconscious body. We should kill her, he says coldly. There's no reason to keep her alive. We don't do that, Marina answers in her voice gentle, reasonable. She can't hurt us if she's tied up. Adam opens his mouth to respond, but seems to decide against it. Marina just saved his life, so I guess he feels like he should listen to her. I actually find myself agreeing with both of them. Pira Dunra is nothing but trouble, and holding on to her is just begging for her to screw us over again. But killing her when she's unconscious seems wrong. We'll at least wait for her to wake up, I say diplomatically. Figure out what to do with her then. The others nod in silent, glum agreement. We head back to the sanctuary. I use telekinesis to float Pira's unconscious body along with us. Once we're back, Marina keeps the ice shackles nice and thick until we've used an electric cable to securely secure the Mog Trueborn to the wheel of one of the many broken-down ships. At this point, I'm pretty sure she's playing possum. Let her. Marina's right. She can't hurt us while she's tied up, and if she gets free, well, I'll make sure Adam gets his wish. Not sure what else to do, I try the satellite phone again. Still no answer from John. That makes me think of Pira Dunra telling us that the war had already come to and gone. I don't have any new scars, which means John and Nine are still very much alive. But that doesn't mean everything is copacetic back in New York. Adam, can we play can we key into the Mog communications from one of these ships? I ask. I want to know what's happening. Of course, he replies, jumping at the opportunity to do something productive. The three of us climb on board our old skimmer, Adam settling into the pilot's seat. He successfully powers on the ship's electronic systems, although the lights flicker spastically, and something in the skimmer's core groans at the effort. Adam begins turning a dial on the dashboard, picking up nothing but intermittent bursts of static. I just need to find the right frequency, he says. I sigh. It's fine. Not like we're going anywhere. Next to me, Marina gazes at the sanctuary through the skimmer's window. Because we left the floodlights on, the entire temple is lit up, the ancient limestone practically glowing. Don't lose hope, Six, Marina says quietly. We'll figure this out. When Adam turns the dial again, the static is replaced by a guttural Mogadorian voice. The Mog speaks in a clipped, no-nonsense way, like he's reading items off a list. Of course, I can't understand a word of what he's saying. I elbow Adam. You going to translate? Adam, staring at the radio like it's possessed, doesn't know what to say. I quickly realize that he doesn't want to tell me what news is coming in over the radio. How bad? I ask, keeping my voice level. Just tell me how bad. Adam clears his throat and shakily begins to translate. Moscow, moderate resistance. Cairo, no resistance. Tokyo, no resistance. London, moderate resistance. New Delhi, moderate resistance. Washington, D.C., no resistance. Beijing, high resistance. Preservation protocols lifted. What are these? I cut him off, losing patience with the droning. Their attack plans? Their status report 6. Adam says, his voice low. Warships are reporting in on how the invasion is progressing. Each of those cities has one of the huge warships backing up an occupation effort, and they aren't the only ones. It's happening, Marina asks, sitting forward. I thought we had more time. The fleet is on Earth, Adam replies, his face blank. What did that thing mean about preservation protocols, I ask. You said they were lifted in Beijing. Preservation protocols are Setrekis Ra's way of keeping Earth intact for long-term occupation. If they're lifted in Beijing, it means they're destroying the city, Adam says, using it to send a message to other cities that might cause trouble. My God, Marina whispers. One warship alone could destroy a city in a few hours. Adam continues. He trails off, some new status on the radio getting his attention. He swallows and turns the dial hard, lowering the volume on reports of Mogadorian success. I grab him by the shoulder. What is it? What did you hear? New York. He begins grimly, pinching the bridge of his nose. New York. Guard-assisted resistance. That's us! That's John! Adam shakes his head, finishing the translation. Guard-assisted resistance overcome. Incursion successful. What does that mean? Marina asks. It means they've won, Adam replies darkly. They've conquered New York City. They've won. The phrase repeats itself in my mind. They're taking over, and we're stranded down here. Because I don't have a better target for it, I punch the console where the dull buzz of Mogadorian progress drones on. Sparks erupt from the dashboard and Adam leaps out of the pilot's chair, startled. Marina gets onto her feet and tries to wrap her arms around me, but I shrug her off. 6! She yells after me as I jump out of the cockpit. It isn't over! I stand atop our skimmer, feeling rage burning inside me, but having nowhere to channel it, I look at the sanctuary, bathed in light. This place was supposed to be our salvation. Our trip down here hasn't changed anything, though. It almost got us killed, and now we're out of the war. How many people are dying because we're not there to help John save New York? I feel an itch on the back of my neck. Someone's watching me. I turn around, my gaze drifting to the runway and the other ships. Pira Dunra is awake, tied up, right where we left her. She grins at me. Chapter 7. When Ella speaks, a jolt passes through me. Suddenly I can move again. I leap up from my operating table and try to shove the Mogadorian doctors surrounding Ella. My hands pass right through them, like they're ghosts. They're frozen in space now, unmoving. The movement a snapshot before me. I need to remind myself that this is all happening inside my head, or Ella's head, or somewhere in between, in our dreams. Don't worry about them, Ella says. She sits up, passing through the ooze machine that's attached to her chest, and then the Mogs as she hops down from her table. I can't even feel what they're doing to me. Ella, I don't know where to begin. Sorry for letting you be kidnapped back in Chicago. Sorry for not saving you in New York. She hugs me, her small face pressed into my chest. That much feels real, at least. It's okay, John, she says. Her voice is almost serene, like someone who has accepted her fate. It isn't your fault. There's the Ella I'm hugging, and then there's the Ella frozen in time, still pinned down to the operating table beneath the Mogadorian machine, surrounded by enemies. I can't help looking past the Ella in my arms and staring at the horrific results of her Mogadorian imprisonment. She looks pale and drained, streaks of gray running through her auburn hair. There are already black veins visible beneath her skin. A chill runs through me, and I force myself to look away, squeezing Ella a little tighter. The hug ends and Ella peers up at me. This version of her looks almost as I remember, wide-eyed and innocent, although there's a tiredness around her eyes, a kind of wary wisdom that wasn't there the last time I saw her. I can't imagine what she's been through. What are they doing to you? I ask, my voice quiet. Citricus Ra calls it his gift, Ella says, her lips curling in disgust. She looks over her shoulder, watching herself get experimented upon, and hugs herself. The stuff he's putting into me, I'm not sure where it comes from. It's the same weirdo genetic crap he grows the Vatborn warriors from. It's the stuff he used to augment some of the humans. You know about that? I nod, thinking of Secretary of Defense Sanderson and the cancerous resistance I felt in his body when I healed him. He's doing it to you, too? He's doing it to you? His own... I hesitate to say this part out loud. His own flesh and blood? Ella nods sadly. For the second time. I remember how out of it Ella seemed during the battle at the United Nations. He did it to you before the big public appearance, I say, putting the pieces together. Drugged you up so you couldn't ruin his moment. It was punishment for trying to escape with 5. The gift, it makes it hard for me to focus, at least when I'm awake. I'm not sure how, but he uses it to control me. It could be related to one of his legacies. I tried to figure out everything he can do, John. I tried to stop him, but... Ella's shoulders slump. I place my hand gently on the back of her neck. You did everything you could, I tell her. She snorts. Uh-huh. I take a long look at the machine Ella's hooked up to, trying to memorize the details. Maybe if we ever manage to hook back up with Adam, he can shed some light on how exactly this thing works. He's not controlling you now, I say, gesturing around to the frozen-in-time Mogadorian operating theater. You're doing this. You're still fighting him. I've been able to hide that I'm telepathic, Ella replies, straightening up a bit. Whenever he hurts me, I hide inside my own mind. I practice. My legacies are getting stronger. I could sense you down there from on board the Anubis. I was able to pull you into my dream, whatever this is. Just like in Chicago, I muse, trying to work this out, only you needed to touch me that time. Not anymore. I guess I'm getting stronger. I give Ella's shoulder a squeeze. This should be a proud moment, her coming into her own, learning to master such a powerful legacy when she's still so young, but our situation is too dire for any real congratulations. I look across the medical bay towards the door, then back at Ella. Can you show me around, I ask. Is that even possible? Ella manages a shaky smile. You want the tour? It might come in handy to know what the ship's like, for when I get up here and rescue you. Ella lets out a mirthless laugh, looking away from me. I hope that she hasn't given up hope. The odds might seem bad now, but I won't let her stay Setrekis Ra's pet grandchild forever. I will find a way. Before I can tell her all that, Ella nods. I can show you around. I've been all over this ship. If I've seen it, then it's stored up here, Ella says, tapping her temple. We step out of the medical bay and into the hallway. It's all stainless metal walls lit by dull red lighting, a cold and economical place. Ella leads me through the Anubis, showing me the observation deck, the control room, the barracks, all those areas completely empty. I try to commit every detail to memory so that I can draw a map when I wake up. Where are all the Mogs? I ask her. Most of them are down in the city. The Anubis only has a skeleton crew now. Good to know. Deep down in the ship, we pause in front of a glass window that looks into another laboratory. Inside, the floor is completely taken up by a vat of vicious black liquid. There are 2 catwalks crisscrossing over the vat, each one equipped with a variety of control panels, monitoring equipment, and oddly enough, heavy-duty mounted blasters. Growing out of the liquid is an oblong shape that vaguely resembles an egg, except it's covered in dark purple mold and throbbing black veins. I press my hand to the laboratory glass and turn to Ella. What the hell is this place? I don't know, she replies. He doesn't let me in there, but... Ella knuckles her forehead and appears to strain for a moment. Inside the laboratory, figures suddenly manifest. A half-dozen Mogs wearing gas masks stand on the catwalk, silently operating the strange machines. Standing among them is Setrekis Ra himself. Seeing him there causes me to flinch towards the glass. I have to resist the urge to attack him, reminding myself that this isn't exactly real. Is this a memory? I ask Ella. Something I saw, yeah, she answers. I don't know. It might be important. As we watch, Setrekis Ra lifts his stolen Loric pendants over his head. He holds them in his thick hands for a moment, considering the blue Lorelite jewels. He's got several of them, 3 from the guard he killed, and the rest were probably taken from the guard he captured at one point or another. He seems almost nostalgic for a moment as he gazes upon his trophies. Then he drops them into the vat. 4 tiny little mouths open up on the egg and suck in the pendants, smothering their glow. What was that? I ask Ella, feeling like I might be sick even in the stream state. When did this happen? What's he doing? Setrekis Ra's gaze suddenly shoots towards us and he shouts something. A second later, he and the rest of the Mogs disappear back into thin air. That's when he caught me spying, Ella explains, biting her lip. I don't know what he was doing, John. I'm sorry. Everything's a bit fuzzy. We move on. Eventually, Ella brings me to the docking bay. It's a huge area with high ceilings filled by row after row of skimmers. It's from here that the squadrons of Mogs currently terrorizing New York City first took flight. They're always coming and going from here, Ella says, waving at the big metal doors at the end of the docking bay. You might be able to get in through there, if they're open. It's where 5 and I tried to escape from. I make a note of the docking bay doors. We just have to figure out a way to make the Mogs open them up. It'd be pretty easy to get on board if we had someone who could fly us up here. About 5, I say, hesitating, not sure how much Ella has heard. Do you know what he did? Ella bites her lip, looking down at the floor. He murdered 8. But he also tried to help you escape, I say, feeling her out. Is he... You're trying to figure out how evil he is. I'm looking for him right now. I'm trying to figure out when I find him if I should kill him. Ella frowns and walks away from me, looking at a dented spot on the floor. I assume it's from when she and 5 tried to escape. He's confused, she says after a moment. I don't know. I don't know what he'll do. Don't trust him, John, but don't kill him. I remember the last time Ella sucked me into one of these dream states, back when her legacy was first manifesting and out of control. It was back in Chicago. That time, she didn't bring me to her present location. Instead, we were trapped in a vision of the future, watching Setrekis Ra lord over the people of Washington in a world where the Mogadorians had won the war. Don't we know what he does, though? I ask, my fist clenching on reflex. You showed it to me. 5 goes back to Setrekis Ra. He works for the enemy. He captures 6 and Sam. I trail off, not wanting to further dredge up the memory of witnessing my friend's execution. I don't want to remember that doomed prophecy of how we're going to lose. Ella shakes her head. She opens her mouth, and suddenly I realize that there's something big she isn't telling me. That future doesn't exist anymore, John, she says after a lengthy pause. My visions, they aren't like the nightmares Setrekis Ra used to give you guys, and they aren't prophecies. We aren't locked into them, like 8 thought. They're premonitions, possibilities. How do you know that? Ella thinks for a moment. I'm not sure. How do you know how to make fireballs? You just do. It's instinct. I take a step towards her. So that vision of DC where everyone was dead and you were... I can't see it anymore. Something in the present changed what will happen. If it's a legacy like my lumen, my eyes widen as I consider the possibilities. Can you control the visions now? Can you look into the future at will? Ella's eyebrows are scrunched like she's not sure how to describe what she's seen. I can't control it exactly. The visions, they aren't reliable. I don't know if that's because of me, because I'm just learning, or if it's because the future is so unstable. Either way, I've spent a lot of time searching through them. Now I know why Ella looks so exhausted even in this dream space, why she's suddenly so wise beyond her years. She mentioned before how much time she spent hiding in the safety of her own mind. I wonder how much of that time was spent wrestling with visions of the future. It must be agonizing to sift through all those possibilities. What have you been searching for? I ask her. Ella hesitates, avoiding my eyes. I wanted to see if there was a future where I die. Ella, no, I say, my voice sharp. Five told me about the twisted Lorik charm that Setrekis Ra used on himself and Ella, the one that binds them together, so we'll have to kill her to get at him. We'll figure out a way to break the charm. There's got to be a weakness. Ella shakes her head, not believing me, or maybe already knowing that I'm wrong. I'm not putting myself before the whole world, John. I wanted to see a future where Setrekis Ra is killed, no matter the consequences. Now she looks right at me, fire in her eyes. I wanted to see a future where someone has the guts to do what needs to be done. I swallow hard. I'm not sure if I really want to know the details of Ella's visions, but I can't stop myself from asking. What did you see? Lots of things, Ella says, calming down. She gets a distant look in her eyes as she tries to explain what seeing the future is like. The visions start out as blurry possibilities. There are millions of them, I think. Some of them are more solid than others. Those are the ones I can see. The ones that seem, I don't know, likely. But even that's not a guarantee. You remember that future we saw in Chicago? It felt real, impossible to escape, clear as day. It's gone completely now. The future has changed too much, and it keeps changing. My head hurts. I feel half crazy just listening to Ella. We need a CPAN, someone who could help her get control of these mental legacies before they drive her insane. At least we've avoided the bleak future I witnessed, but what did we trade it for? Ella, did you see yourself die? She hesitates, and a knot of dread tightens in my stomach. Yes, she says. Her body shakes, and I realize it's from holding in a sob. I crouch down in front of her and put my hands on her shoulders. It won't happen, I insist. My voice as firm as I can make it. We'll change the future. But we win, John. Ella grabs my hands. Tears stream freely down her cheeks. I realize something. The way she's looking at me, the way she's squeezing my hands. Ella's not feeling sorry for herself. She's feeling sorry for me. It's going to hurt you so much, John, she says, her voice cracking. You have to be strong. It's me? I don't believe it. Am I the one that... I can't even finish the question. I yank my hands away from Ella. I'd never hurt her, not even if it meant ending this war. There has to be another way, I say. Use your legacy and find us a better future. Ella shakes her head. You don't understand. In the blink of an eye, Ella is changed. She looks like the girl stretched out on the operating table, black ooze worming its way beneath her skin. She struggles to focus on me. The docking bay around us gets weirdly hazy and starts melting away. Ella, what's happening? The Anubis. It's moving out of range, she says, narrowing her eyes, trying to strengthen our telepathic connection. I'm going to lose you. Quick! There's one more thing you have to see. Ella snatches my hand, and then we're running towards the docking bay entrance. We step through, and dirt crunches beneath my feet, hot sunbeams down on the back of my neck, and the air sticky and humid. It's disorienting to be suddenly transported from the sterile gloom of the Anubis into the heat of the jungle, vivid green on all sides, tropical birds loudly chirping. I'm standing on what looks to be an airship carved into the jungle. The black armored hulls of a handful of Mogadorian skimmers reflect the bright afternoon sun. My eyes are drawn into the limestone pyramid that stands a few yards away from the airship, all the Mog gear seemingly positioned at a safe distance from the structure. the ancient structure. I instinctively recognize the temple, even though I've never actually seen it before. Maybe it's just my imagination, but it feels as if something buried within the centuries-old Mayan architecture is calling out to me. I feel safe here. "This is the sanctuary," I say, my voice quiet and reverent. "Yeah," Ella says, and I notice that she's also admiring the temple. "Six, Marina, and Adam." Oh no, Six, Marina, and Adam, I pause, realizing that Ella's never met our Mogadorian ally. Adam is a... "I know who he is," Ella says, her tone giving nothing away. "We meet soon." "Okay, well, they were just here," I continue, looking around for signs of our friends. "They're probably headed back by now. Are you going to show me what they did to give the humans legacies?" "This isn't the past or present, John. We're in the future, one that I can see very, very clearly." I should have known that since the sun is out. I turn to face Ella, sensing that she hasn't brought me here to deliver good news. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because of that." Ella points into the sky to the north of the sanctuary. There, like a cloud storm, rolling across the otherwise blue and cloudless sky is the Anubis, slowly floating towards the temple. My legs jerk, reflexes still key to run for cover after I narrowly survived the bombardment in New York. I force myself to stay put and watch the worship approach. "When?" I ask Ella. "When does this happen?" Before Ella can answer, her form contorts, again turning pale and black-veined. The scenery flashes, the jungle suddenly overlapping with the Anubis operating room, and also with what looks to be the inside of a subway car, all three places existing simultaneously, like three transparent pictures laid on top of one another. For a second, it's impossible for me to focus on any particular detail, everything blending to the point where I feel unmoored from reality. But then Ella cries out, either from frustration or pain or both, and the jungle and the sanctuary solidify once again. "You're pushing yourself," I say, watching as dark circles form around her eyes. "We're getting too far apart." "Don't worry about me," she replies hurriedly. "Doesn't matter. This is where we're going now, John. The Anubis is leaving for the sanctuary right this second." "So Satrakas Ra will get there?" "He'll get there at sunset," Ella says. "He stops in West Virginia to gather reinforcements after leaving so many warriors behind in New York. And then..." Ella waves towards the Anubis. It's closer now, the warship's long shadow falling across the stones of the sanctuary. "What does he want?" "He wants what's inside," Ella shouts, and yet, even though her voice is raised, she's beginning to sound further away. "I think it's what he always wanted. They opened the door to the sanctuary. It isn't protected anymore." "What do—" She cuts me off, grabbing my arm. "John, listen! Six, the others, you have to warn them. Tell them." Ella's hand passes through me. I see it all again, the sanctuary and the Anubis, Ella squirming on the operating table, the darkened subway car, and then all the colors blend together, nothing solid to grab onto. Ella screams something at me, but she's too far away. The words don't reach me. Then darkness. Chapter 8. I snap awake on a hard plastic bench, my legs dangling off the end. I know I'm back in my body, no longer in Ella's dream world because of the intense ache that immediately soaks through my every muscle. I'm on my side, facing the orange and yellow seat backs of the subway bench. I've never been on one of these cars before, but I've seen enough movies and TV shows to recognize them immediately. On the wall above my head is a poster reading, "If you see something, say something." With a groan, I prop myself up on an elbow. Sam is slumped on the two-seater adjacent to my bench, with his head propped against the window, snoring gently. Outside the window, I can see only darkness. This train is stalled underground somewhere, inside the tunnel. The passengers must have abandoned it early on during the attack. The train car is dead, unmoving, and powerless. The panels of overhead lights completely dark, and yet there's light coming from somewhere. I sit up and look around, immediately spotting a row of cell phones spread throughout the train's main aisle. With their flashlight apps turned on, the phones function like battery-powered candles. On the bench opposite from me, awake and watching, sits Daniela. Her feet are propped up on the duffel bag she carried out of that bank, the thing presumably filled with stolen money. "You're alive," she says, keeping her voice low so as not to wake Sam. I do the same, even though Sam's snoring like he could sleep through another Anubis bombing. "How long have I been out?" I ask. "It's morning according to the phones," Daniela replies. "About 6 hours, I guess." Morning already. I shake my head. An entire night wasted. We couldn't find 9 and 5, and who knows which part of New York they've fought their way to by now. To make matters worse, I know where Satrakas Ra and the Anubis are heading, right to the last known location of the rest of the guard, because I lost contact with Ella at the last minute. I'm not sure what to do with that information, even if I could get in contact with Six and the others. Should they be getting ready to turn around and head back to the sanctuary, or does Ella want me to keep them as far from there as possible? I need to move, to do something productive, but my body still doesn't feel 100%, and Sam is out like a light. We're still in the subway? I asked Daniela, knowing the answer, but wanting to get a better grip on our situation before I make any decisions. Yeah, obviously. We dragged you in here after you fainted. Fainted? I repeat with a grimace. I passed out from exhaustion. Same diff. Anyway, we were all pretty wiped out after that cave-in stunt, Daniela continues, maybe sensing my annoyance. I fell asleep pretty much as soon as we got here. Daniela glances at Sam, a faint smile on her face. Your boy Sam was gonna stand guard, but I guess that didn't go so hot. No big deal. Not like anyone is looking for us down here. Not yet, at least, I reply, thinking about the Mogadorians on the surface and wondering how their occupation of New York City is progressing. One of the phones winks out. Daniela crouches over it, pressing a few buttons, but the battery is dead. People slept in front of the store for these things, she says, holding up the dead phone for me to inspect. Shit goes down, though. A lot of people drop everything and run. What's that make you think about humanity, alien guy? That they've got their priorities straight, I replied, glancing again at the duffel bag full of money. Yeah, I guess, Daniela says, then casually tosses the phone to the other end of the train car where it hits the floor and breaks apart. Even the phone shattering doesn't disturb Sam. That felt surprisingly good, Daniela tells me, smirking in my direction. You should try it. Where'd you get all the phones? I asked Daniela, watching her closely as she sits back down. I still don't know what to make of her. She's a human with legacies, which we don't even have a word for. But she seems to think this entire situation is one big joke. I can't tell if she's unhinged like Five or hiding behind a massive defense mechanism. She mentioned before that the Mogs killed her stepfather and that her mom is missing. I know what it's like to lose people, to not know what's happening to your loved ones. I could tell her that, except I don't really think Danielle is the type to open up easily. I wish Six were here. I have a feeling they'd get along great. I woke up first, she says, gesturing around the train. Went through all the cars. People left a lot of shit behind. Back at the bank, did somebody leave all that cash behind too? I asked, jerking my chin at her duffel bag. Oh yeah, that, Daniela says, looking to the side with feigned guilt, but unable to keep the smile off her face. Wondered if you'd noticed. I noticed. Thing's heavier than you'd think, she says, nudging the bag with her filthy sneaker toe. I rub my hand across my face, trying to figure out how I should approach this. It's not like I haven't stolen before. I always did it out of necessity, though, and never right in the middle of a full-scale invasion. Weird you had time to rob a bank while you were searching for your mom. First of all, I didn't steal it. I mean, not technically. There were some dudes hiding from the Mogs in that bank. They were the ones robbing it. I just ended up taking cover in there. They got blasted, then you showed up. I figure, why waste a perfectly good duffel bag? I frowned, shaking my head. I have no idea if what Danielle is telling me is the truth. I'm not sure if it even matters how she got the money. I'm more concerned with figuring out if this new guard is someone we can trust, someone we can rely on. Second of all, she continues, leaning toward me, my mom would be pissed if she found out I missed an opportunity like that. She tries to keep her voice cavalier, but a tremor sneaks in when she mentions her mom. Maybe this attitude is all a front, a way to cope with how screwed up her world has gotten in the last 24 hours. I get that. My expression must be too sympathetic, though, or maybe she noticed me noticing her voice shaking because Daniela raises her voice and keeps going, more heated than before. It occurs to me that as much as I'm trying to figure her out, she's also trying to figure me out. Third, I didn't sign up for these superpowers that you don't even know why I have, and I damn sure didn't sign up to fight in your alien war. Neither did my family. You think there was an alien invasion sign-up sheet getting passed around? I asked sharply, trying and failing to keep my temper from flaring. No one asked for this. The Lorik, my people, we didn't ask for the Mogs to destroy our home world. It happened anyway. Daniela holds up her hands defensively. All right. So you know what this is like. All I'm saying is that you shouldn't be judging how I choose to spend my alien invasion. Shit is nuts. I was too young to fight back when they attacked Lorian, I tell her. But you. Oh shit, here it comes, the recruitment speech. Daniela starts to do an impression, her voice suddenly higher pitched, her words theatrically enunciated. Look outside your window, she recites. The Mogadorians are here. The guard will fight them. Will you stand for Earth? I shake my head confused. What's that? It's from your video, dude. The whole support the guard thing, they played it on the news. I shake my head. I don't even know what you're talking about. Daniela studies my face for a moment and eventually seems satisfied with my bafflement. Huh, you really don't. Guess you probably haven't been watching much TV. Me? I was glued to it when those ships first started appearing. It's like all of a sudden we're living in one of those alien invasion movies. Was pretty cool until, well... Daniela waves her hand, encompassing not just our current situation of hiding out underground, but the citywide destruction we both lived through. I notice her hand trembles a little. She quickly hides this, folding her arms tightly across her chest. Sam and I helped a group of people get out of Manhattan yesterday, I tell her. I wonder how some of them knew my name, but it was too chaotic to ask. Was it on the news? Did they show me fighting at the UN? Daniela nods. They showed some of that, except when that Clooney-looking creep turned into a genuine alien monster, people really started to freak out and the cameras got all shaky. You were featuring pretty heavy on the news before that, though. I tilt my head, not understanding. How do you mean? There was this YouTube video. It got posted on some stupid conspiracy website first. Wait, was it They Walk Among Us? Daniela shrugs. Nerds Walk Among Us? I don't know. Sure. It starts off with a picture of Earth that they totally snagged from Google Images, and this girl's narrating this is our planet, but we are not alone in the galaxy, blah, blah, blah. She's trying to sound all professional, like it's a nature documentary or something, but you can tell she's our age. Why are you making that stupid face? While Danielle is speaking, I can't help a dumb smile from crossing my face. I try to keep my expression neutral as I lean forward. What else happens? So, they show some pictures of Mogadorians and say they've come to enslave humanity. These pale aliens look like they could be guys in corny monster makeup or something. Nobody would have taken this shit seriously if, there weren't a ton of UFOs menacing cities. And then she starts talking about you. There's a video of you jumping out of a burning house that shouldn't be possible. And then there's footage of you healing this FBI agent's burned up face. And, well, it's pretty grainy, but the special effects would have to be mad good for it to be fake. What does she say about me? Daniela smirks, eyeing me. She says your name is John Smith, that you're a guard, that you've been sent to our planet to fight these aliens, and now you need our help. That's what Daniela was quoting before. Her terrible impression was supposed to be Sarah. I sit back thinking about the video that Sarah and Mark made, their contribution from the sideline. Even though she's mocking it, the video seems to have made an impression on Daniela. She could quote it from memory. Hell, the survivors we came across in the street had certainly seen it. They trusted me. They were ready to stand and fight. But was it all too little too late? I grimace involuntarily, thinking out loud. I've spent my whole life hiding from the Mogadorians that were hunting me here on Earth, getting stronger, training. The war was always being fought in secret. We were starting to get our allies together, though, starting to figure things out. I wonder if we'd only gone public sooner, how many lives could have been saved from if New York was ready for an attack like this. Nah, Daniela says, dismissing this notion with a wave of her hand. Nobody would have believed that shit even a week ago. Not without people on CNN shouting about spaceships appearing over New York. I mean, you needed that whole UN fight for it to really sink in. Before that, the news, people were debating whether it was a hoax, a viral stunt for a movie, whatever. I saw one lady on TV saying you were an angel. Pretty funny. I chuckled dryly, not really feeling in the mood. Yeah, hilarious. I realized that Daniela is trying to comfort me in her sarcastic way. I'll never know what would have happened if we'd spent the last few months trying to make our war with the Mogadorian public. There were humans at high levels involved with Mog Pro that would have made any attempt at exposing the Mogs extremely difficult, if not impossible. I know all this logically, and yet I can't help feeling that yesterday's colossal loss of life is on me. I should have done more. How old are you, anyway? Daniela asks. 16, I tell her. Yeah? Daniela nods, like she already knew this. You're like the girl that narrates the video. You got that whole wise beyond your years thing going, that's true. And you look like you've been through some shit. But take a closer look. She trails off, clicking her tongue in thought. You should be finishing high school, man, not saving the world. I can't let what happened in New York bury me under guilt. I need to make sure nothing like that ever happens again. I need to find my friends and figure out a way to kill Citrek Raw once and for all. I square my shoulders and smile at Daniela, affecting a nonchalant shrug. Somebody's got to do it. Daniela smiles back for a second, then catches herself and looks away. For a second there, I thought she might volunteer to join the fight. I can't make her stick with us after we get out of the subway. I just have to trust that she and the other humans out there have developed their legacies for a reason. We need to get moving, I say. I shake Sam's shoulder and he snorts awake. His eyes are blurry for a moment, adjusting slowly to the bluish LCD lighting of the subway car. So, it wasn't a dream. It wasn't a bad dream, he says, standing up slowly and stretching out his back. His gaze drifts over to Daniela. You decided to hang around, huh? Daniela shrugs, like the question embarrasses her. You mentioned getting some people out of New York, she says to me. Yeah. The army and the police have secured the Brooklyn Bridge. They're evacuating people from there. At least, they were last night. I'd like to go there, Daniela replies, standing up. She straightens her dust-covered and blood-spattered t-shirt. Maybe see if my mom made it. All right, I say. I don't want to push her on joining forces. If it's going to happen, she's the one who has to make the decision. That doesn't mean we shouldn't stick together for the time being. We should head that way, too. Sam rubs his eyes, still working moisture into his mouth. You think 9 and 5 battled their way to the evacuation point? Doubt it, I reply. But 9's a big boy. He can handle himself for a little longer. Priorities have changed. I really need to get in touch with 6. If anywhere has working phones, I think it'll be the evacuation point. I turn to Daniela. Can you lead us out of here? Daniela nods. Only one way to go with the uptown tracks caved in. We follow the tracks for a few more stops. We should just about make it to the bridge. Wait, how did priorities change while we were sleeping down here? Oh, wait, that's Sam. Wait, how did priorities change while we were sleeping down here? Sam asks. I tell Sam how Ella reached out to me telepathically from her prison aboard the Anubis, explaining that Setrekis Ra is headed for the sanctuary. Daniela listens in, her eyes wide and locked on me, mouth slightly open. When I'm finished describing the dreamscape, prophecies, and endangered Lorien historical sites, she shakes her head in total mystification. My life has gotten so effing weird, she says, walking down the train car towards the exit. Hey, Sam calls after her. You forgot your bag. Daniela glances over her shoulder. Then she looks at me. I don't know if she wants permission or if she's challenging me to stop her. When I don't say anything, she doubles back and lifts the heavy bag with a grunt. Use your telekinesis, I say casually. It's good practice. Daniela eyes me for a moment, then nods and grins. She concentrates and floats the bag out in front of her. What's in there anyway? Sam asks. My college fund, she replies. Sam gives me a look. I just shrug. When Daniela reaches the end of the car, she levitates the bag aside and yanks the metal door open with a sharp clatter. She steps onto the gangway that connects to the next car. Sam and I follow a few feet behind her. Whoa, whoa, Daniela says, her words not directed to us. Her duffel bag rockets back into our subway car. Sam and I both having to jump out of the way. Daniela telenetically slides the bag under a bench, like she's trying to hide it. A second later, she steps backwards through the door, her hands raised in surrender. Immediately, my muscles tense. I thought we were safe down here, but in the tunnels, but we aren't alone. A machine gun barrel with a flashlight attachment is leveled inches from Daniela's face. A shadowy form covered in bulky equipment and body armor inches cautiously into our train car, backing Daniela down. Too late. I notice flashlight beams in the next car over, at least a dozen of them, maybe more. A second halogen beam shines right into my eyes, a second human gunman boarding our car. Without thinking about it, I ignite my lumen, fire slithering across my fists. Wait, Sam warns. They aren't Mogs. I hear the telltale click of a round being chambered, probably in response to my channeling a fireball. The subway car aisle is narrow, Daniela is in the way, and the light in my face makes it difficult to see. Definitely not ideal conditions. I could probably disarm them with my telekinesis, but I don't want to risk them getting off a burst of automatic fire at such close quarters. Better to wait and see how this plays out. I let my lumen wink out, and at the same time the soldier in front lowers his flashlight beam out of my face, pointing his gun at the floor. He's wearing a helmet, fatigues, and night vision goggles. Despite all that, I can tell he's only a few years older than me. You're him, the soldier says, a bit of awe in his voice. John Smith. I'm still not used to this whole being recognized thing, so it takes me a moment to answer. That's right. The soldier snaps a walkie-talkie off his belt and speaks into it. We've got him, he says, not taking his eyes off me. Daniela edges towards Sam and me, glancing between us and the soldiers, more of whom are now filtering into our train car, fanning out, making the whole area even tighter. Friends of yours? Not sure, I reply quietly. Sometimes the government likes us, and other times not so much, Sam explains. Great, Daniela replies. For a second there, I thought they were here to arrest me. The soldier's walkie-talkie crackles to life, a familiar woman's voice filling the train car. Ask them nicely, but bring them in, the woman commands. The soldier clears his throat uncomfortably, staring at us. Please come with us, he says. Agent Walker would like a word. Okay, that was the end of Chapter 8. We'll pick up on Chapter 9 in the next video. I hope you guys are enjoying it. So far, so good. Okay, that's it for now. Reading by Ree. Until next time. Bye!